Welcome everyone to another episode of Open Mic with the MVP Marco. I am, of course, your host, the MVP Marco, back again with another interview. I say this every week. I always, I want to keep myself limited and not do a bunch of interviews, but I always get inspired by the people I see on social media, and I reach out to them. Whether or not they answer back, that's a whole nother story. But the ones that do, I take the advantage and I get them when I can. So I'm back again with another one, and I think this one's going to be very very fun, and we gotta have a good time. But before we get into the interview, I always shout out the Pod Foundation. That's pretty much why I'm here. It's a group of content creators. Obviously it's wrestling based, but we cover a lot of different avenues of wrestling. My show isn't very wrestling centric, but it's based. The blueprint is, if it's wrestling inspired, I'm going to interview you. But if you've listened to the show, the past, I think this is the 26th episode so far. I've interviewed a vast majority of different types of people within social media. If you want to call nerd culture, collecting, all that type of stuff. So I run the gamut there. But back to the Pod Foundation. It's the Chick Foley show. Obviously, that's the anchor show, the ones that create the Pod Foundation. We have the Extra Cooler show. Great show. Obviously, Nick, great artist. Definitely check him out at Extra Cooler. We also have the Turnbuckle Tavern, who helped me actually design this logo, and my personal logo, my MVP Marco logo. So, and I'm also on one of their shows called The Raw Down every Tuesday, 9 p.m. EST on patreon.com/the Turnbuckle Tavern. You can watch me and J-Bone, who's also part of the Pod Foundation, with Coming Down the Aisle. We team up and we talk all things WWE, all the news and notes, as much as you can bring you. So that's live every Tuesday, 9 o'clock on the Turnbuckle Tavern Patreon. And then if you don't get to see the live, the audio drops on Wednesday. So you get to listen as well. So you don't have to look at our, hideous faces. You can just hear our hideous voices. But anyway, let's get to my next guest for the show. So this person here is a very, I was just actually talking to him a little bit before this. I'm kind of running a theme here. I'm, bringing on a lot of like people that do cosplay within wrestling. Obviously, if you listen to the show, I've had Over the Moonsault. I've had the Machoverse very, very recently. And I always get inspired when I see, I'm starting to see them run in the same circles. That's where it's kind of running to. But this person in particular is not only a cosplayer, but he also has, a fashion page as well, which I'm going to ask questions because I don't have very great fashion sense, so maybe he can give me some tips. He can't give me tips of the looks department or the long hair that he has. He's a very attractive guy. I'm just going to say that much. And he's probably heard it a lot. If not, then I mean, he's going to hear it a lot during this interview. But I'm going to bring him on right now. It's Chris Wain. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, especially with an intro like that, I'm done. You don't have to ask me any questions. Thank you. Good night. This was fun.
Man. Yeah, the first thing, like I see it obviously on your your IG page. You do a lot of cosplay, but you also have a secondary page, which is a fashion like page there. How does that let's start with that. How do you see those two things connect at all, or are they two separate things in your mind?
Yeah, so I'm trying to draw some parallels between the two because there's so many similarities in like both worlds. So like I wouldn't say growing up, but maybe like high school, I kind of found this like passion for fashion, and I started like dressing differently. I was like a lot more deliberate with my clothing choices, and I followed like back then, there wasn't social media, so I was clipping out pictures from like GQ magazine, drawing like inspiration from there. I was huge like David Beckham fan in terms of like his style. Like that guy is like, he's like my ultimate man crush. Like my wife will tell you that.
What guy is it? If they tell you, they're lying. If they say otherwise.
So it's funny that you call that my secondary page because that was actually my initial page.
Oh, okay.
But lately I've just been having so much fun with like the wrestling cosplay that I've been spending all my time on that page, on that account, interacting with people I've met there. I've met a lot of great people, a lot of talented people. So it's been a lot of fun doing that. And I've kind of been neglecting the fashion stuff. So, but again, it's funny because like a lot of people, like people that know me and like have like grown up with me and know me like personally, they know like the guy from the fashion page, right?
Yeah.
And the people I've met through like conventions and social media and wrestling events, they know me as like the wrestling cosplay guy. So I almost feel like I'm living like a split personality. By day, I'm like this guy, and by night, I'm like somebody else. So that's where like my Instagram accounts lie. But then like on Facebook, again, it's more like my personal stuff with like my wife, my children, and more like fashion oriented stuff. So occasionally I'll throw some wrestling cosplay in there, and people are like, "Oh my god, like what are you doing? Like, doing this?"
Oh man. Do you tell them like? I mean, have you seen if you show them like Seth Rollins and the stuff that he comes out with every week, you'd see that wrestling can be very fashion forward. Even the Young Bucks, I gotta give them props as well. The stuff that they wear, like, was that like obviously with wrestling, there's always been some type of different type. There's always been different type of styles and things like that. I go back to like Superstar Billy Graham, the stuff he used to come out with. Obviously, Macho Man, like he's probably like the focal point of like fashion forward when it comes to But you can throw in Jesse the Body Ventura everywhere with the wearing the boa and the the earring and that type of stuff. But what do you have you always, was that something that attracted you to wrestling? Because that's something that attracted me to wrestling, was obviously the wrestling, but like the characters, the stuff that they wore, the gear and stuff like that. Like, is that something that do you see as a first attraction to it, or was it the the actual wrestling, like the product itself?
Oh man, 1,000% with the gear choices. I mean, like you said, definitely the wrestling, the presentation, the larger than life superheroes. I started watching wrestling back in like the 80s. So that's what like drew me in. But like even like as a kid, every time there was like a big show and like a big pay-per-view and wrestling have like that new gear, I always got excited for that. And then like, fast forward a couple years to like when I'm playing like No Mercy or like, WrestleMania 2000, I'm like, I spent like hours just changing everybody's like gear and trying to get them like up to date, or like I'll have like one for like like Raw or SmackDown, and then I'll have like if you keep shifting through the gear choices, I'll have like one special one for like like the SummerSlam. Oh man. And it's funny you mentioned Seth Rollins, because I have cosplayed as him a few times.
I've seen a few of those.
Yeah. So like every time he comes on Raw, he's of course, to the outside casual fan or like non-wrestling fan, they're like, he's wearing like the most obnoxious, ridiculous loud outfit, right? And my wife will look at it and she's like, "Don't tell me you're buying this outfit," or like, "Please don't." So like I'll joke with her, like she'll give me the look now. She doesn't even have to say it, and I'll just say like, "Oh, I already ordered it. It's coming tomorrow." Yeah.
Yeah, I seen one of my favorite videos is it's the dueling Seth Rollins, where you're wearing the when he came out with the big red boots, like kind of like the black gear with the bun, and then the other guy had like the lace kind of shirt on and stuff like that. That was actually, it's one of those things where it was kind of like it seemed like it was like a gimmick, but now it's like it kind of, when he started doing that, all the other like we'll say like AEW, those guys started doing it as well. Like the Bucks started coming out like with like obviously not as fashion forward as he is, because they have like this. I think the guy's like, I think his name's King Troy. He does a lot of designing for like not just Seth Rollins, like a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. But you've seen it like kind of like a ripple effect happen across.
I've actually had interactions with King Troy. He's super awesome guy.
Oh, awesome.
And I think the story was like he did a lot of the women, like Becky Lynch and like Charlotte Flair. Think like very like over the top. But I feel like for female wrestlers, or like just females in general, it's more acceptable. You don't really see a lot of men doing it. So when Seth started coming out with these suits, I was like, oh man, that's actually like, I've always appreciated Seth's in-ring work. And I love the Shield, one of my all-time favorite factions, but he was never like my guy.
Yeah.
until he started wearing these suits, and I was like, oh man, I'm all in now.
It's something about like, even dating back to like Ric Flair when he would,
Yes.
come out with the expensive suits and the fur
Mhm.
coats and all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's something about seeing, you know, like athletes in general, just like wear
Mhm.
like, nice suits. It just seems like not that like not wearing a suit isn't presentable in a way, but
Right.
it's like it seems like professional. Like when Cody Rhodes comes out every week, like
Yes.
the guy looks like amazing. Like it's like
Absolutely.
what is he? Yeah, obviously that stuff is expensive, all those suits and things like that. But
Yes.
it's just something that brings like a authenticity to those guys when they when you see them in those kind of clothes, like you could dress like kind of like a gentleman, and you don't have to wear like like a t-shirt and jeans like even the Rock was like kind of like the outlier back in the Attitude Era where he was wearing like the $500 shirts and the and the slacks and stuff, and everyone else is wearing their pretty much their merch, just a
Yeah.
t-shirt and jeans, and that was literally it. And he kind of like stuck out in that sense, and I always appreciated that because like especially if you're a champion, you want like and you're a fan of that guy, you want that champion to present themselves in a way where they look like a champion. Not that Roman Reigns isn't doing that, can't say that, but when he does his like media rounds and stuff, he cleans up and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
you definitely want like you want a presentable champion. I think that's they've come a long way in that sense with the fashion and things like that. But
Yeah. Most definitely.
um, another thing I see too is like you actually mentioned you said your family sometimes they're in the cosplay aspect. I seen on one of the posts you had was the Judgment Day, which was that was amazing. Like, dude, your Damian Priest is insane. Like you and Over the Moonsault. Like if you guys ever get together, her Rhea Ripley that
Yeah.
she does, and your Damian Priest would be amazing in a
Oh
photo
man.
shoot. But
It's a
I,
shame because she's in Texas, I believe, and
yeah, yep,
I'm in New Jersey. So like we've had interactions. I've never met her in person, but I'm such a
yeah,
big fan of her work. I'm constantly telling her like you're amazing. I really think she's like the best at like what we do. She's
yeah.
so creative and like talented and super sweet as well. But yeah, I think that'd be such a great collab. Like that's one of like my dream like team cosplays. Uh,
Yeah,
anything with her. It could be Judgment Day or like and yeah, she can do anybody. So I think it'd be fun.
yeah. I want to because the thing with like the family stuff, like I've been trying to get like my girl because I have two twin girls, the identical twins.
That's amazing.
I've been trying to get my son, and he's like they're all wrestling fans, but he's like way into it.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get them to do like a bloodline cosplay. Like
Yes.
they obviously they're the Usos because they're
Yes.
twins. I'll be Solo.
Yeah.
Or my wife could be like Paul Heyman, or we can vice versa, however she wants to do it. And then
Okay.
my son, obviously, he's going to be Roman Reigns, but
Of course.
the girls will not. They will not do it. They just don't. I'm like, just one, just for daddy. Just do one thing.
I think it's easier than you think, especially with the bloodline, because if they're gonna be the Usos, they're pretty much in street clothes. So you just get
Exactly.
the bloodline shirts. They still got them on like WWE Shop. They could be like pretty simple, and then you and your son can like go all out, and that'll really like, sell everything. Put everything together.
I mean, it's a thing that they, I think it's because they're boys. They don't want to dress up like them. They think they're dressing up as boys, but like,
Yeah.
they're really into like, like Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair,
Of course.
Becky Lynch. They're into all the like the girl. They love like, they love when they walk down with the, especially Charlotte Flair with their robes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I can see why they won't do it, but I'm gonna get him one day to do it because I got jealous of you. I was like, how does he get his whole family to freaking dress up like that? And like, I know my son will do it. I'll do it. My wife will do it. It's the girls that won't. They won't do it. I'm like, God damn it! I just want you to just like you said, just throw on a t-shirt and a pair of pants, and then you'll be the Usos. That's it. You don't have to dye your hair red. You don't have to do anything crazy like that.
If like one like because I think like Jay had like shorter hair right for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then like Jimmy's got the longer hair, so one can like have the bun, one can just have her hair down. And just throw on some bloodline shirts, and I think you could do it.
I think so. It shouldn't be that hard. But so let's go back to like a little bit to the beginning. Like what got you into like? Well, let's say what we already kind of talked about, like what you got what how you got into fashion. How did you get into cosplay? Like where did that come into play for you?
So like as a kid, I was into like well, before I answer that question, like I grew up. I was born in the '80s, but I really grew up in the '90s. Like all of like my, I guess like my core memories and of like pop culture and
Yep.
things that were cool. And I really think like that was the great. I'm not, of course, I'm biased, but that was like the greatest era of like everything, basically, right? Just all the stuff we had. So I was a big fan of anything and everything from like Ninja Turtles to like Marvel to Star Wars to DC. Um, I'm gonna throw like a deep cut, like WMSE Masters or like American Gladiators, right?
Right.
Like, things like that. So as I got older, I discovered New York Comic Con, and I thought it'd be like a fun experience to go. And the first year I went, I remember just walking on the floor, and I saw like these incredible costumes, and again, it was my first experience at any of these conventions, so I legitimately thought that they hired like the Hellboy to like come. I have this vivid memory of like, Hellboy just like standing on the floor, and there's like these other like really elaborate like cosplayers, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is incredible. And I was like too scared to like go up to them. I thought you had to like pay to like see them or like line up. Like I had no idea they're just like regular people, just like with like
just
amazing skills. So like I went to a couple conventions, and I'm just seeing like all these different fandoms being represented. Again, like Power Rangers like really popular. Anime is big. There's always like stormtroopers and like Deadpools. So I'm enjoying this stuff. And one year I decided, hey, like let me give this a shot. I've always like dressing up like for Halloween, but this gives me like another time to do it. Well,
exactly.
I just do it like once a year, right? You can do it multiple times a year. So I was like, okay, this is cool. And I think at the time I was really drawn to this character Deathstroke from DC.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, so I thought he had like a great look, like with like a patch, and he had like silver hair, and he had like really cool armor. So this is like me like getting my feet wet into like the game, so to speak. Yeah. So I found some like cheap motocross gear on like Amazon, and I did some spray painting, like really minimal stuff, but I thought it looked pretty good. And like at the time, I'm like, I'm the man at this, like I can't get any better than this. And like looking back, I was like, oh my god, I would never wear this in public. But as I'm doing it, I'm having a lot of fun interacting with people. It's really fun if you're like one character and you see like another person who's dressed as like the same character. You have like an automatic bond, right? And you got to get picked. So I'm doing this, and then as I'm walking the floor, I start noticing not many, but there's like maybe like one or two people doing like wrestling cosplays, and I'm thinking, oh man, like why didn't I think of this? This is like my even though I was a fan of like all these different things, wrestling was always like my number one, and I was like, this would be cool. So I started like looking into like who I could do, and like in the beginning I was like really timid because like wrestlers, you and I both know like they're not wearing a whole lot, right? So
exactly, very revealing things that they're wearing sometimes.
Right, exactly. So I'm thinking like some of my early favorites are guys like the Ultimate Warrior, and I'm like, there's no way I can just go out and like some
with tassels and
orange nose and just right. So like, so I was like, okay, how can I do this? So I was thinking of like guys that were like dressed like from head to toe almost. So I started off with like styles. I created like my own like long tights. I bought some kick pads, and he has that entrance jacket, but he has like a shirt underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, okay, this is fun. I had a blast like putting everything together, and I thought it came out really cool. It was the look that it wasn't a very popular look, but it was one of my favorite looks. I believe it was 2016 when he was like the United States champion.
Okay.
Was, like, feuding with like Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
He had some like red, white, and blue attire. So I did my best trying to like piece everything together. And then like as the years went on, I slowly got more bold, and so when I finally did Shawn Michaels, who's like my favorite of all time, I'm like, all right, he's not wearing a shirt, but he's got like I did like the 1992 version when he like first turned heel.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, he's got a vest, but like no shirt. All right, let's see how comfortable I feel in this. Fast forward the year after, I'm like Roman Reigns just lost the shirt, and like so every year I'm like kind of like getting more and more naked.
yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely. I noticed that on the on your page, Ed. Definitely have to have like the body to like pull off a lot of those things too. That's the that's the other ingredient
to like stay in shape and like eat right.
So. Yeah, no, it definitely motivates you if you definitely want to go that route, because I was actually going to bring that up. Like, what's your favorite like person to do? Is it? I mean, obviously, like you said, they start getting less and less clothes as you go along. But like, who's your favorite to like pull off? Obviously, your Shawn Michaels is your favorite. Is that your favorite cosplay, or
I think
is it someone
so.
else?
Yeah, like the easy answer would be yes. I mean, would be Shawn Michaels, just because again, he's my personal favorite of all time.
Yeah,
Like the gear I have like made, like I do a lot of the gear myself. So I spend a lot, like most of my time and like effort on that cosplay.
yeah.
That's like my pride and joy. Like it takes me like almost a year to like get everything together and
Oh wow.
like piece of, yeah. It's hard to like. I think with people that like see you on social media on the other end,
Yep.
they think you can just like crank it out in like a week or two. But like it's all this like
Yeah.
research and like finding the right materials and like the right colors and
Yep.
yeah. Sorry, I'm like going off on a tangent now.
No, it's fine. No, because I was gonna say, you don't have any help with your gear, or do you do it all on your own?
No, I wouldn't say I have no help. So like I when it comes to like sewing or like manipulating foam or anything like that, I have like zero skills. So that I'll
Yep.
get like outsourced, like tights and things like that.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to more elaborate stuff, like my Shawn Michaels stuff, I'm nowhere near like talented enough to like make that myself.
Yeah.
So I'll have that commissioned, but something that's like maybe a simpler logo where it's like a solid color, maybe some like graphics. I found like ways to like customize that myself. So like that kind of stuff I'll do myself, but like when it comes to like entrance attire, that's all me.
Oh wow, no, that's pretty. Because like I said, when I interviewed over the moon salt, she said, she does everything herself. Like she sews everything. Like in particular, like the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat
Oh man, that was
cosplay that
so
she did
good.
with she did that whole
Yeah.
the wings and all that stuff by herself. I was like, geez, how long did that take to
Yeah.
do?
Steamboat's one of my favorite characters, and like that one, I was blown away.
Insane.
Yeah,
And
I'm not sure yet. I'm not.
I totally forgot to bring up. I interviewed Heel Liz, if you know her as
Yes,
well. She
of
does a
course,
lot
of
of
course.
cosplay too and stuff like that. So
She
totally
did
forgot
a
to shout her
really
out.
good Zelina Vega. Like
Yes.
I don't know like how she did it so quick, because like normally it's easy for me to like get a look from like the 90s and I have like all
Yeah.
these reference material. But I remember Zelina I'm not familiar with the character. I believe she was like cosplaying as somebody or like inspired by something.
Yeah.
But Zelina, it was like gold and red and white, and it was like relatively new. And then I feel like the next week, like Heel Liz just like busted that out. I was like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Like nailed it too. Like,
Yeah. That's like I said. It's one of those things where because you kind of brought it up. Wrestlers themselves also do cosplay with it, like with their gear as well.
yeah.
So like if like Shayna Baszler, she's like a huge Warhammer fan. So like
Yes.
a lot of her gear is like based off like different Warhammer characters. Obviously, the New Day, a lot of their gear is infused with different things.
Yes.
Zelina Vega, because you brought her up, she's
Right.
always doing something different with like a different anime or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the one that like kind of sticks out the most from everybody is Sasha Banks when she came out as Sailor Moon at at that Royal Rumble.
Favorite gear that she's ever worn. It was incredible. And the funny thing is, I never watched Sailor Moon, but like I have two younger sisters. They would watch it like every morning before school. So I was familiar with all like the characters and all like the different like outfits and looks. So as soon as she came out, I was like, oh, that's Sailor Moon. Or
it's what do you call it? Rey Mysterio is another one. Like literally all his gear, like it's some type of like comic book character or something. Like he's done. I think he's done everything from like the Joker. Spider-Man,
the Silver
Superman,
Surfer,
but Silver Surfer. You gotta like some of them. You gotta like kind of like research it, like because it'll look for. Obviously, they can't like carbon copy like the actual like character because they'll get sued. But like some of them be like, why does it look so familiar? And then you'll go back like there's one of the gears he wore. I think it was when he's facing Seth Rollins like during the pandemic, and he had like that eye patch.
Yes,
he was wearing like it was like he was wearing blue. It was basically like Superman colors.
Okay.
So I was like, is that like super? Is he dressing as Superman? Because like even the question mark logo that he has was in like the Superman logo. So I'm like, is it that? And then I ended up looking up. I'm like, it was kind of like he kind of modeled it after like the old school, like Superman, like those. So I was like, oh, the boots and everything, because I seen the red boots, and I'm like, is he doing something with Superman or not? I'm like, I couldn't figure out, but Yeah, I think it's
subtle like homage to the character, like not overly being them and not like being obvious.
yes,
Like you can tell there's some inspirations drawn, and
exactly.
yeah, it's also actually speaking of that feud. I think it was when Seth went against. I think it was during the feud with Mysterio, but I think he wrestled Dominic, and he was actually like
Yes,
cosplaying, like not I guess cosplaying, but his gear was inspired by like Ray's gear.
yes, yeah,
Halloween, that was so
the
good.
Halloween Havoc
Yes,
match with Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, that was awesome. And then
yeah.
he did that with Cody Rhodes when he came
Yes,
out
as
dressed
the
as
Dave. Yeah, that
Dusty
was
Rhodes
good.
with the polka dots.
Yeah.
Um,
I was
and
gonna cosplay that one. I haven't gotten around to it, but that's been on my list for a while too. I thought that
oh,
was
that'd be awesome. You
yeah.
definitely need to pull that off. That one in RVD when he faced Riddle in that like pit fight thing. He
Yes.
came out with RVD inspired gear, which
Yeah.
is pretty funny.
The airbrush top. That was
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Have you ever thought of doing? Have you done RVD or ever thought of doing RVD with like the singlet and all that
Um,
stuff, or no?
I have just wait a little bit.
Oh, okay, all right.
You may or may not see an RVD cosplay,
Yeah.
possibly in Philly during Mania weekend. I'm not gonna say much.
Oh man, that's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
So when I asked this to like the Macho Verse as well, like
Sure.
when you do the cosplays, right? And you're going to these conventions and you obviously a lot of them have like the wrestlers there and you
Yeah.
meet them. Like how is that experience when you actually like, meet well, sometimes you don't meet the person that you're actually dressed as, but like what is it like when you walk up to the table and like what is obviously how we talked before we started recording, I talked about the reaction the New Day had when you dress up as Seth Rollins and you came in dancing and stuff, and they were just like they just lost it. They thought it was the most funniest thing. Like, do you always get those reactions, or are there some that aren't as as pleasant?
Let's see. I can answer that two ways. Let's go with the all right, I guess in a good news, bad news situation, let's start with the less responsive, I guess.
Yes.
So I did I talked about the 92 Sean
Yeah.
look that I did. That was one of my first actually that was the first Sean cosplay I did. Over time I kind of felt more confident with my skills and added like more details to it where I got it like a lot more accurate than I did the first time around.
Yep.
So I was going to a convention and Kevin Nash was there. So I thought it'd be cool to see him as Sean.
Yep.
I'm like excited. I'm like one of the first people in line, and this guy totally like no sells it. He
Oh man, I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say Kevin Nash for some reason.
You know, it's funny because I met him once at Comic-Con and he was like super nice. Like we had a great conversation. It was like he was with Scott Hall when he was still alive.
Yeah.
Two of like the nicest guys I've ever met. And we were talking. Normally those lines are like really quick and they'll, you get your picture, you get like a few words and you got to move. Like I had to be the one being like, okay, I should probably step back because, I'm taking so much of your time, but they were so nice and like, so, like welcoming and like they were like engaged in the conversation that we were having. And so I was excited to see Nash again. And I don't know if he was like tired or like having a bad day, but
yeah,
he was like, he wasn't like rude or like, I'm not gonna say anything like bad about him. Like he wasn't negative in any way, but he wasn't like, he wasn't excited at all. Like that.
Yeah, because it wasn't like the New Day reaction where they were just like hysterically laughing.
Yes, that one was great. Because that was the first time I ever cosplayed as Seth, and that was like when he was getting that character over with the conducting and the crowd singing his song, and the suits were like becoming a thing. So I thought it'd be like fun and comfortable because most cosplayers are very uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And again, going back to like my love for fashion, this is a great way to like blend those two worlds together. So I can kind of look a certain way and kind of like portray a character that I'm a really big fan of. Side note about that though, it's really funny because I think maybe like 75% of the people that I saw had no idea like I was dressed up as anything. They'd be like, "Oh, it's a nice suit," or like, "Oh, right." But so I'm online waiting to meet Xavier Woods, Big E, and Tyler Breeze. So my friend is behind me, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna try conducting and dancing." And and actually, my wife was there too. She was Becky Lynch. So
that's
I was
right.
like,
Yep. She's in the video too as well.
So I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna start conducting. Let's see if they react. If not, whatever. Let's see how it goes. So so my guys behind me, like my friends, they're like singing the song. I'm conducting. My wife's dancing, and like Xavier was like, he's got that like high pitched laugh.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that was one of my fondest memories from any Comic Con.
Was that so? Have you had gotten other reactions like that in your cosplay? Was that like the that like the pinnacle? Like they were just that was just like they were completely like
in terms of
blown
like
away.
positivity. I mean, like no pun intended, but like those guys like really like sold it. They were having a blast, which made me have fun, and like my wife was laughing. Like she was really into it. So like I'm happy. And then I think I forgot if it was their channel or I think like Up Down Down like put it on their.
Oh really? Wow, that's awesome.
That was really cool. And I think they either tagged Becky or she saw it somehow. And so she like reposted, and I'm like, oh wow, this is actually like getting some attention.
That's amazing.
And I think like Seth liked it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. In terms of like reaction though, like again, that's probably like the most like over the top, like just fun like we had. But if I'm gonna cosplay as somebody and like meet them, it's always like a good I would say like 95% of the time it's like a very nice like interaction. Like they're not like openly like oh my god, but like they respect you in a way that like, hey, you took the time to kind of like make this in like honor of me. So, thank you for that really. So
exactly.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think so I've met Bret Hart dressed as Bret Hart. I met Edge dressed as Edge. I'm a huge fan of like Matt Cardona and Mariah Myers. I've dressed as both of them. Let's see who else. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but hopefully I'm trying to get some more this weekend. Not this weekend. WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's a chance to like do some of that. My ultimate meet and greet like in cosplay, again, going back to Shawn Michaels again. He's like the one wrestler I have never met, and again, I can't say this enough, but he's my favorite of all time. So like,
as is a lot of people though, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. If I can meet him, like dress as him, I think I could die happy. That's like the ultimate goal I have, like as a cosplayer. So.
Man, because you brought up the Edge cosplay. That was I think I did see that one. That was like more the like kind of like the old school Edge with the with like the shades and stuff, right? Did you do that one? Or
yeah. So it was like more the Edge and Christian version, like with the I was like playing his music, like.
So that reminds me of like the Edge, not like. Obviously that he was kind of like the same Edge when he was with Edge and Christian, but like when he was like solo, when he was like he had those vignettes where he was just like in the streets like running around and everything like that. He wear those like glasses. That's what that reminded me. Like, oh my god, that's so sick.
Exactly. So like I think that was like earlier in like maybe like March or something. So like later that year, I did like that version of Edge. Yeah, but it's very like universal because he didn't like change his look too much. So I was kind of like that Edge, but I could also be like Edge and Christian Edge, but I was going for like Brood Edge. So like they all kind of like blended into each
other. So as far as like, so I think one of the things I want to ask you too is like as far as like balance with like what you do in cosplay and like because we talked you have a family, being a dad and a husband and stuff like that. How is it like balancing all those things at once?
It's incredibly hard. So like I said, again, if you're like scrolling through people's like social media, you get to see like the best version of them, right? Or like whatever they put out. So you see the final product and you're like, oh, that's cool, but you don't see like the planning, the headache, the late nights trying to like balance work with like spending time with your wife versus spending time with kids. You have like other things going on. So it's not easy to get like, everything together. So like my way around it is for me, New York Comic Con is like the big event for the year. So it's a 4-day event. I try to go all 4 days if I can. And I'll pick out like some top tier cosplays like the year before. Like, so I'm already planning for like that right now. And that's in October. So and I started planning this like when last year's New York Comic Con ended. So it gives me enough time to like get my materials ready, like figure out like which look I'm gonna do, what what I need. Like if I buy everything in one shot, I'm gonna go broke, and like it's not worth it. So I need to know like when I could buy certain things, if things are on sale, if I can get things cheaper, like if I need help in anything, and also like I don't want to rush it either. If
Yeah,
it's like my like if this is like my I guess like WrestleMania for the year, I want to make sure it's right and it's done well.
exactly.
So that I will spend like a lot of effort on, and it's okay because I can work on it like really hard for like 2-3 days, and then I can kind of forget about it and spend time with my family and do other things. Like I go on business trips a lot, so I'm
Yep,
not home for that, and then I can come back to it, right? And I
yep.
can just kind of take my time with it. I don't need to rush. It'll still look good because I spent like an adequate amount of time on it. But like throughout the year, I might do like something like quick or small or like something simple where like I just need like I don't know like the Usos for instance, like pretty simple cosplay
Yeah.
that I can pull off like quickly. Pretty deadly, like I've got the
Oh,
hair.
yes. Yeah.
Um, so things like that. And I've always got like a couple things like in my pocket that like I've had planned, I just haven't done. Like I have like I don't even I've lost count, but I could probably just like pull 5 or 6 cosplays out like right now that like I just haven't like had time to like do like they're probably like I don't know like 85 to 90% done. I'm just missing like that one
Yeah.
thing where I just got to do something. So yeah, but like you said, it's once you have like kids and they you're a father as well, and especially with like multiple kids, they have their own activities.
Oh,
They've got
yeah.
yeah. And yeah, it's a lot going on, but you have to make time for what's important, which is family.
Yep.
And then like when I have free time, I'll spend my time on that. So it's a lot to juggle, and I got to throw in like working out and like meal prepping and like other things like
Oh,
and
yeah.
social life. I need to have friends too, right? So
Yeah.
like so it does take up a lot of time, but you gotta fit it in when you can.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Like I can kind of relate in the sense where, doing like even this show, like prepping for this, like, obviously like doing the outreach and stuff like that. You've seen all the like pretty much the communication and the coordination it takes to like, figure out a time, things happen, that type of stuff. And
Yeah.
then like obviously when the show ends, I'm editing if I have to edit, not edit things out that you say, but like,
Mhm.
do like intro music and outro
Sure.
music and, make the cover art for this. So when it does happen, when we do promote it, the cover art's there. And then try to like promote throughout the whole, while it's out and stuff like that. So like, and then, just there's a lot that goes in, and I do another show too. That's the other thing. So like I said at the beginning, I do, a show for another podcast. So that takes a lot. Well, that's kind of like scheduled. So it's not
Sure.
as like different as this show. I try to at least do like, I try to pick times that are like convenient. So like a lot of people like to do like Sunday nights because it's
Okay.
like, it's the end of the weekend. It's,
Yes.
it's not much going on. And then it's done and then I'm free for the rest of the week essentially. But
That's
then
great.
there's times where like, I want to do like, I'll even double up sometimes, which is probably not the best thing to do. Like I'll finish like one show and then I'll go right to the next thing, which is probably not the best thing to do because then I have work in the morning that makes it worse. But like you said, you definitely have to like kind of like plan and coordinate, especially if you're gonna do something. That if this is like your passion, whatever
Yeah.
your passion is, you're definitely gonna try to find the time to do it. And,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I see like a lot of content creators out there that do, obviously they have like day jobs and stuff like that. And they get so much done. It's kind of like it's insane. Like I interviewed Kyle Peterson. He's like one of like the leading like figure collectors out there, and
I'm a
he
big fan of his work.
he pumps out a lot of videos. Obviously,
Oh yeah, yeah,
when I interviewed him, he was like, I pick Sunday's my day, and I just bang 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 do a bunch of videos, and then
yeah.
release. I'm like, I couldn't even think about doing that. That's not even my thing there. But
Kyle
speaking of
Peterson
like,
has the thickest backdrop, like all those figures and all those like
oh my
details.
god, man,
Like,
it's
oh
like
yeah, that's like a dream
yeah.
basement for like, or whatever room that is. Yeah, for anybody, I think.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And just speaking of that, so we'll kind of stay within the figure thing. So you did mention, the Major Bros,
Yeah,
the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. Like I'd say, like obviously you do like you've done some things with them. Like how did that like relationship come about between those guys?
I
They're
gotta
very
say
awesome
this, like,
dudes.
oh yeah, definitely. I gotta say, like in terms of like fan interaction and like building a community, there's like nobody better than those guys.
Yeah.
Like they started a podcast about wrestling figures, and I'm like, okay, I love wrestling. I love wrestling figures. This is right up my alley. So I started listening from their pilot episode, like till now. I've never missed an episode. And I think before that, I never used Twitter or like X, whatever you want to call it now. But like, you know, I had an account, but I never used it. And they would have like these weekly things where you can like ask questions or like post stuff or like repost their stuff to like, you know, be eligible to like win a prize. So I was like, okay, let me see what this is all about. And they're like very responsive. They're very like good to their fans. They have like a Facebook group that you can join, and they're like actually in it. Like with you. And I remember one time Matt, at the time he was still Zack Ryder, he was doing a like an elaborate collection of all like the Jack's classic superstar line. And he was looking for like very specific. I mean, he was trying to get the entire set, but he was trying to get them like figure by figure. And there was this old it was a Bret Hart versus Yokozuna 2-pack, and Bret Hart had like the all pink singlet. I believe this is like WrestleMania 9 look. And this is a pack that I bought like years ago from like Toys R Us, like when that was still open.
Wow.
And I had it mitten in the package. It still had like the orange Toys R Us price tag on it. So he was looking for it, and I tweeted him, and I mentioned him, and I was like, hey, I have the figure. If you know, if you want it, it's yours. And so he funny enough, they were actually doing a promotion at the time where they were selling shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, and if you bought any of their merch from a certain window, they would give you a call. And I'm thinking like, okay, like that sounds cool. Like, will they really do it? And they always delivered. So like one day I'm like just hanging out at home, and I get a call from like a restricted number. I was like, oh, who is this? And I hear Matt. He's like, is this Chris Wain? Are you related to Bruce Wayne? I'm like, what? So him and Brian are like, driving around, and I mentioned the tweet to him about the Yokozuna and Bret Hart 2-pack, and he's like, oh, I haven't seen it yet, but message me again, and we'll do something. So I retweeted it, and then he like DMs me, and he's like, here, let's trade. And he's like, I want the figure, and just tell me what you want, basically, and it's yours. So I mean it wasn't like that. I think like as we were talking like in the car, like Brian said like, oh, if he's got that figure for you, you should give him like a signed figure of yourself. So so he honored his word. He signed like Zack Ryder on like if you remember his it was actually the outfit. Did you see Revolution when like Sting came out with like his two sons? And like, and like one of them was having like the USA gear with like So Zack Ryder at the time had like gear inspired by that look. He's got like the jacket with the stars, and he's got like the fringes on like the side of the arms and stuff like that. So that was like one of his elite figures. So as a trade, he like signed that, he personalized it, he signed it for me, he sends that to me, and I send him the Bret and Yoko. And it was just like I would never dream of like having this type of interaction like as a kid, like with wrestlers I watch on TV, and we're on like a first name basis, and they're just like each other. I was like, what kind of world am I living in right now? So,
that's great.
So it started from there, and again, they're like so awesome with like their community. They have like live shows. They do like a toy drive every year at Brian's school, so I try to make it out to that. But they're super like interactive. I don't mean to like keep going on about this, but funny enough, I was on my way to New York Comic Con last year, and I'm like half asleep, and it's early. I'm like I want to get there, and then get my adrenaline going. I haven't had a coffee yet, and I get into Penn Station, and I look up, and I see Brian. He's like pointing at me. I was like, what are you doing here? What's going on, man? And I was like, hey, what's up? And so we're leaving the train station, and we're walking in the direction of the convention. And normally I just like walk there. So I figured, we'll leave the station together. He'll do his thing, I'll do my thing. And then he looks at me, he's like, hey, you want to take an Uber together? I'm like,
oh, that's awesome, dude.
Why not? I'm trying to like play it cool, and I'm like, yeah, sure, let's get like my heart was like racing. So we're like in the car, we're talking about life. He's got two daughters. I have a daughter and a son. So we're talking about family. We're talking about like figures. wrestling. It was such an awesome experience, and I like no other wrestler would do that. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely not. No, man, that's awesome.
yeah, those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Me and my buddy usually. I mean, we've been going for the past couple. I went the first day myself, and they do the stomp at Kowloon.
Yes.
As they call it, Saugus.
Yeah.
The Saugus in August.
Yes.
I've been
Yes.
there the past couple of times, so hopefully they do it again this year. Again, that'd be pretty awesome. And have you ever been to? Have you ever went to those or no? I mean, you're in
No,
Jersey.
so like, yeah, so I've only attended the New York shows. So their first 3 live shows were in New York. I was like, this is great. I can go to like every one of them. And then the pandemic hit, and then they started taking the show on the road. So they're in like Florida and like Massachusetts, and I'm like, I can't travel there like in LA. I was like, oh, this is crazy. But thankfully they're piggybacking off of like WrestleMania weekend, so they're gonna do a live show there. So I'm excited. This will be my first major pod live show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, well, since
so
the
fun.
third one. So I went to 1, 2, and 3, and I think this is like 19. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So like I mean I still listen to the show every week. I follow like what they do, so I'm still up to date. But I haven't been there in person, so I'm excited about this one. I got a special cosplay plan for that one. So
you'll probably get some preferential treatment when you go there. Definitely. Yeah, because there was a few people that drove out to that Saugus one last year, because I think it was like the anniversary, the show's anniversary. I think it was a 5-year anniversary last year, I believe, and they're kind of celebrating that. But yeah, it's actually really cool. That one actually, I think the night before was the match that Matt Cardona had with at GCW, where he had the Ghostbusters inspired gear. And he literally like drove from there to like Massachusetts. So he's like, he's like, oh, I'm still like bleeding under my jacket. Like he's like, he didn't really like even like get time to like clean up or anything like that. Pretty good. Yeah, that show is actually pretty awesome. But
yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Speaking of figure, like, is that like, do you still collect figures and things like that, or are you?
I want to. I do like from time to time. It's just like going back to like
expensive.
How we started the conversation. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the short answer, yeah, it's very expensive. But like in my early adult stages, I spent all my money on like clothes, and then I was like figures and collectibles. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna buy more figures, I should buy less clothes. So maybe like a few months I'm more into fashion, and then a few months I'm into like figures and collectibles and other things in that realm. And now, like within the last few years, I've really been into cosplay. So with that, I'm buying less clothes and less figures and more like cosplay items. So I try to get like my favorites, and so I'm like very selective on like who I buy. So I won't buy like an entire like wave or entire set.
Oh yeah, no, I tried that once, and that was
that doesn't work like that.
I'm done. Nope.
So I'll try to stick with people like that I grew up with, like not so much the modern guys, unless it's someone like a Seth or like a Roman or like a Cody. I'll get those guys. But guys like Mick Foley or like Undertaker, Warrior, all the guys from like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, those I'm a sucker for. Again, I'm not gonna get them all, but I'll pick and choose, like which ones I like really like, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah, like I was actually thinking, I was talking about that like before. One of my buddies, like, just he's one of my friends is like a huge figure collector.
Mm-hmm.
He has like he collects wrestling figures, and he has like one of the, I'm not sure if he has like the craziest like Ghostbusters. He's like a huge Ghostbusters fan. And in his basement, he has this room. It's literally just all Ghostbusters figures in like the proton pack, and like he actually has the like legit like actual proton pack, which is insane.
Incredible. I'm not a big Ghostbuster guy, but that's awesome. That's
he bought the suit. Yeah, he bought the suit with his name on the like the jumpsuit with his actual name on it. I'm like, dude, what the hell? But like we were talking about that, and I'm like, as I'm like, my son's into wrestling. He's into wrestling and stuff like that. So he likes to play with wrestling figures and things like that. So like, obviously if I'm buying them and he sees it, he's gonna want to play with it. So I'm like,
of course,
now I'm like, I can't really buy anyone new because he's gonna want like all the new people. So like, I had to like kind of pivot and go, you know what? I'm just gonna like you collect like the people I grew up with, like like the Ultimate Warriors, old school Triple H, old school The Rock, Bam Bam, Like anyone that's like, late 80s, early 90s, or like new gen type guys, like the beginning, the gimmicks before they were gimmicks. So like I have like Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Like I kept that figure with the red jacket and the chain.
Oh, that's such a good figure.
I
don't have
that
one.
when
I love that figure.
Obviously Rocky Maivia when he was actually Rocky Maivia with the tassels. And
That's another cosplay I've been dying to do.
Oh man, that's definitely something you should definitely do. And like just like I think I had kept my like Isaac Yankem figure. Obviously that was
like
Kane
exclusive, right? I think that was hard to find.
Yeah, I have that one there. I have who else? I'm trying to think of, like I just try to like stay with like the older gimmicks. So like I still have a representation. And if I want to upgrade, if they make it, because they've been making new versions of all the old figures, I'll probably replace it with the newer version of it.
Sure.
But other than that, it's like I don't want to buy anyone new unless it's for like my son. So like he's really into Roman Reigns. Like he literally took. I had a bunch of Roman Reigns figures. Okay. They're all gone. Like he has them all. He has them from the best Roman Reigns,
right.
Like all the way up to like now. And the only Roman Reigns I do have is the Shield 3-pack that the last one that they came out with.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that's the only like Roman Reigns that I'm like really keeping right now. But it's and like I said, it's tough when you have a kid that's like really into wrestling and wrestling figures to collect, because he's gonna want everything that you have. So I'm like, he's not gonna know who like Big Boss Man is, or like
exactly, right.
Roddy Piper. But guess what happened? So I buy 2K24, right? Or 2K23, and Big Boss Man's on there, Roddy Piper's on there. So he's like, now he's starting to understand, like, all the older guys, and he throws on Peacock, and he's starting to watch like older WrestleManias with like Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. He's really into that match. WrestleMania 3. He's like fascinated by he's more fascinated by Andre the Giant than he is with like Hulk Hogan. Because Andre the Giant's just like, obviously he's eighth wonder of the world, and he's just,
I think that's the thing with how old is your son?
He's gonna be 8. He's 7. He's 7 years old.
Okay. My son's 8 right now, so they're about the same age. Yeah. No, it's something about like big, like larger than life characters. I think that draw like my son's favorites are like Bobby Lashley. He's like
Omos. My son loves Omos.
Nobody likes Omos except my son. He loves Omos.
I'm like, realistically, kid, like, if these guys are actually in a Royal Rumble, they should technically win. And in the real world scenario, Omos is tossing everybody out of that ring.
Exactly.
So like, like I noticed that, because I like, and I don't want to like, obviously with the Hulk Hogan stuff and like the stuff that we know, I don't want to like. It's kind of like with Santa Claus and all that. I don't want to like ruin his. If he is into Hulk Hogan, I don't want to be like, Hulk Hogan's this and that. Or like, I want him to like, see what I seen as a kid, like the red and yellow Hulkamania, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Like that's all well and fine, but he kind of gravitated towards that match, that Hogan and Andre match, and now he's into the Savage and Hogan match, the Mega Powers Explode.
Oh, that one. Okay,
for some reason. Don't know why. He just started watching that. I'm not sure if he's
good for him, man. He knows he's got good taste. I
think he just like I don't know, it's so weird. Like, my son does this. He'll look at the WrestleMania logos and he'll watch the Mania depending on what the logo looks like from back in the day. So like he'll go, I don't like that logo. Oh, I like this one. It's like it's this color, and they'll start watching it, and then he'll start watching like the matches and stuff like that. I'm like, I mean, I guess if that's
logo, are you talking about just like the WrestleMania like text?
Yeah, like so, like
all right,
like because obviously it stayed a little bit when like we were younger in the early '80s and the late, like it started. It didn't change, but like obviously they started changing it towards like the Attitude Era. Like it was different logos like throughout the whole thing. So he's going based on like what they look like. So like WrestleMania 11, he's like looking at like, oh my god, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna watch WrestleMania 11, which it wasn't really like a great WrestleMania.
That was actually my first WrestleMania that I attended, and it was like known as like the worst WrestleMania of all time.
I mean, like, notice I didn't say it was the worst. I said it wasn't a great WrestleMania. I enjoyed it. That was without.
I enjoyed it for sentimental reasons, but like, actually, funny story about that. Not to sidetrack, but I was, I think, 10 years old going to that. So I was in 5th grade. I had school the next day. And my father, I begged him to take me. I begged him to take me to WrestleMania 10. It was too late. Tickets sold out. So I begged him the year after. WrestleMania 11 was in Connecticut. So I'm like, please, can I just go? And he was able to get tickets. We go. We see Shawn Michaels versus Diesel.
Mm.
And then he's like, all right, we got to go. I'm like, we didn't see LT versus Bam Bam.
Oh,
And he's like,
man.
no, we saw the main event. I was like, no.
No, that's not the.
He's like, no, that was a championship match. That's it. I was like, no, there's one more match. And he's like, oh, you have school the next day. So I'm like, ah. So I get home. My mom's like, oh, you guys came back early. And I was like, yeah, I missed the last match. And she was like furious at my dad. She's like, you paid all this money and you didn't even say the last match. So again, I was 10 years old, and I went on like 20, I don't know, like 15, 20 years. I never saw LT versus Bam Bam. I just never went back and watched it. And I was like,
Really?
yeah. So then like I told my wife, my wife couldn't care less about wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, now she's more of a fan now because like I watch so much and like the kids are into it. So she can't help but like know stuff, right? But like when we first started dating and seeing each other, she had like no idea what was going on, especially like, the older stuff. So I told her the same story I just told you. And one year for Christmas, like she got me like she always does like the most like thoughtful gifts. So I don't remember. It's funny. I don't remember like the main present, but on the side she gave me the WrestleMania 11 VHS. And she was like,
wow, that's awesome.
The main event. So here it is. You can finally watch it. And that was the first time I watched it. Like again, I don't remember how long after it was, but it took me like over 20 years to see that match.
Dude, that's amazing. Dude, you should have. Oh man, I wish you could have pleaded with them. Like, Dad, don't you know that like pretty much like the whole like offensive line of like the Giants are gonna be there, like right in the front row, like everyone's gonna be there.
Yeah, I missed the whole like music entrance, and I was like, it was Salt and Pepper that played.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
Man, that I would have been so upset. And that's like the funny thing is that's like one of those things where I mean that's one of my like wishes from Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Or maybe Sandy the SDCC when when it kind of comes out that like Mattel they announces that they're gonna do a WrestleMania 11 2-pack with Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow like Ultimate Edition. I'll have to buy it. Like
I've been waiting for that figure for ever.
Like they have to at some point. Like Muhammad Ali's already there. Like Mr. T, they've gone back and done like like everyone's like they're going back to the old like so hopefully they get something with Lawrence Taylor and they can get that.
I'm with you, man. I would buy that like instantly.
So sick. Yeah, because as soon as when they announced the no holds barred, I was kind of like
right?
I wasn't like really. I was buying figures, but I wasn't like going too crazy with it.
Yeah.
But when they announced that, I was like, oh my god, dude, that's No Holds Barred is my childhood. Like I love that.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that was like my favorite movie when I was little. Obviously, watching it now, it's awful. It's like the worst movie ever.
It doesn't matter. It was
just like the way that it comes in, like when you pull it out, it comes in like a cassette.
Yeah, it had like a VHS packaging. Oh, so good. Oh,
so sick. Oh man. But
did you watch Suburban Commando also?
Yes. Yeah. Like me, like obviously now being an adult and like growing up and like seeing like obviously like the Hulk Hogan stuff and all you know like that's still like a part of my childhood. Like Suburban Commando, No Holds Barred. Like Hulk Hogan still it's Hulkamania. He's the most known wrestler out there. Like besides like a Ric Flair, if you want to put Ric Flair out there, but like everyone knows Hulk Hogan. He's a global icon in wrestling. So like it's hard to escape. And like when you like I said with my son, like him like getting into like the older wrestling and stuff like that, and knowing the stuff that we know now about a lot of those guys and like the dark side of the rings and
I know
and all that stuff. It's hard to like for him. I'm like I'm just glad he gets to see that stuff through his eyes, like as a kid, not like when he gets older, he can find out all the stuff he wants to find out about.
But like you said, like Santa Claus is still real right now, right?
Santa Claus is still real. Hulkamania is still running wild in his mind.
For sure. Yeah, my son actually asked me like, he's like, "Where's Brock Lesnar?" And I was like, I don't know what to tell him. I'm like, "Oh, he won't be back for a while, if ever."
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. He didn't. My son was like, my son's a hardcore like Roman Reigns like fan, so he doesn't even he could care less if Brock Lesnar like lives or breathes. I think in his mind, he's like as long as Roman Reigns keeps his title.
Okay.
He's fine. He doesn't want anyone coming back and anyone.
So he doesn't want Cody to finish the story then.
He does. I mean, he doesn't. So it's weird because he likes Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
But at the same time, he doesn't want Roman to lose his title. But at the same time, he doesn't want Roman to cheat keep his site on.
Again, right?
He
Yeah,
hates when
yeah,
Solo shows up. He hates when when the Usos at the time would
yeah.
show up because
Uh-huh.
he wants Roman to win by himself. Like he wants him to
Yeah.
to beat somebody. He doesn't want everyone coming in I showed him the not to go off a tangent, but he watches on repeat. Don't
Mhm.
know why. Extreme Rules match with Demon Finn Balor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he loves that match
That's
between
awesome.
him and he loves it so much. But
Yeah.
every time we watch it, he does it. He has the same reaction when the Usos come out when Finn's about to win,
Mhm.
literally about to win. Coup de grace,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then they pull. I mean,
Yeah,
1, 2, and then they
yeah.
pull him out, and he always loses his mind with that. But
Oh, man, yeah.
it's funny, but yeah, he watches does your son do that at all time? Does he watch any anything on repeat, or does he is he that into wrestling where he's just constantly watching something or
So, I
talking about someone?
I want him to be like that, but it's
Yeah,
just again, he has all these interests. He's a big fan of Star Wars. And then
yeah,
my daughter's also hogging the TV, or they're fighting over what they want to watch. So wrestling is they're big fans, but
yeah,
they want to they don't want to watch wrestling all the time. When I was a
yeah,
kid,
yeah.
that's all I want to watch. Yeah, I'm watching it
Oh
all
yeah,
the
yeah. That's
time.
my son. Yeah, my
Yeah,
girls not so much. They'll watch it when we watch it, but other than that, they could
yeah,
care less.
yeah.
But is he so as far as other interests
Mhm.
besides wrestling and stuff, what do you as for hobbies anyway? Are
Yeah.
there any other hobbies that you do besides cosplay, watching wrestling, that collecting, those type of things?
No, it's just wrestling. No, I'm
Yes,
kidding.
that's it.
No, I'm
I was like, oh, all right. I mean, that's
No, there has to
hey,
be one
no
there.
judgment zone over here. I mean, that's what you want to
No,
do.
no, no.
That's
There's
totally fine with me.
no, I mean, like I said before, I'm a total nerd. I'm a total geek. I love Star Wars. A lot of stuff that I grew up in the '90s. But I guess aside from all that stuff, I'm very much into fitness, into eating right, and I try to be humble and yeah, I don't like to toot my own horn, but I gotta say
Yeah.
when it comes there's one thing that I think better than anybody. That's make a grilled cheese sandwich. So
Oh, I take that. That's me, dude. I take pride in making grilled cheese sandwiches, man.
yeah, I always check my ego at the door. I'm not better than anybody, but when it comes to grilled cheese, I challenge you to make a better one than so,
All right, so how do you do it? Do you because I know everyone does it different ways. Everyone makes their how do you is there a secret to it? You don't have to tell it, but is there a certain way that you build your grilled cheese when you're actually making it? Because I build mine as it goes, and
yes,
I'll
I think that's
explain
the way
after.
to do it.
Okay, so you do
Yeah.
you do the bread, then you throw
Mhm.
the cheese on, and then the bread after, and then is that what you
Well,
do?
so before I do that, I have to figure out first I can really go on about this.
No, I don't. Hey, I want to hear because
So my bread of choice is sourdough. I think
okay.
that's
Ooh, that's a good choice.
that's my favorite. I think you
Okay.
get a nice crispy edge. And then when you bite into it, you get if you do it right, you get the crispy edge on the outside and the soft chew on the inside, right?
Yep. See, oh man, dude, we're on the same page with
Right,
that.
exactly, exactly.
Man.
So I figure out which is the inside and then of the sandwich and which is the outside. So I lay it
Yep.
reverse. So I butter the outsides.
Yep.
So then you got to go low heat because you don't want to burn the sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. So I go two fats actually. So I do oil in the pan and then I put the buttered side down.
Okay.
My cheeses of choice, I go Munster, Swiss. You got to have American. And then
Yep.
if you want to elevate a little bit, I throw some Parmesan in. Not I
Ooh.
prefer the block that you grate yourself. You get a better melt with that, I feel.
Yeah. Damn, you might have me beat with the cheese in there. Yeah, definitely.
I kind of cheated. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and figure out the right blends. I do mayonnaise on the inside. You got a salt and pepper. And then then put the other side of the bread on top. You got the butter on there, and you got to go low heat. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Do you do any sides with it at all?
Occasionally I'll do like a tomato soup, but like my wife likes that. So if
Okay.
she wants that like as her dinner, I'll do like both sides. But if it's
Yeah.
just for me, it's just a sandwich.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just
Yeah,
like I've seen like so many different variations of it. I've seen people use like mac and cheese with grilled
yeah.
cheese
There's all these
before.
crazy ones, right? Yeah.
How do you oh man, I mean it sounds very good, but I don't want to make I don't want to like make macaroni and cheese and then like add it to I'd rather just like go with that. And like the funny thing is like my son I'll be making him like, or I should say like all three of them. I'll make them like
Yeah,
grilled cheese and stuff. And
yeah.
like they're like, "Oh, mommy doesn't make it that way," or you know, I'm like, I don't make it that way. I don't
Yeah,
know which way.
this is
I don't know
your
which
way
way
of
they do
doing
it.
it. Yeah,
My way's the right way. Whatever they're doing is it's
exactly.
always burnt. It doesn't taste good. It's my it's my way or no way. So
Exactly. Daddy's got the right way to do it, right?
they rush it. They don't take
Yeah, yeah.
time with it. They just want to get it over with
No, no, no.
and
You
feed
got
it
to
to
put
you.
the
No.
love into that. Yeah, a good grilled cheese, I feel like takes like maybe like 10, 15 minutes. It's not
Oh
just like
yeah.
thrown. Yeah,
Like you
uh,
said, like a nice crust on the outside, nice and chewy on the inside.
yeah.
Not like soggy at all,
No,
not
you don't want
soggy
the
in the
stock.
middle.
That's just you mess something up in there. if
Yeah, I
it's
know
not,
that yeah, I mean that's how they make it usually. My wife
yeah, yeah.
she's gonna kill me. She listens to this, so
Oh
she'll
no,
probably say something to me after.
you gotta say something nice about it now.
So like because you kind of mentioned this before, like your wife, um, like and I asked Macho Verse too as well, like
Yeah,
how she actually helps him like do his outfits and stuff like that. So like
yeah.
how is she involved in like your cosplay and stuff like that? As far as like planning and stuff like that, or is it all you? Do you go to her for like how does this look? Should I go this route or like
No,
how much input does she have? None at all.
not much. She's kind of like I was gonna post about this, but I forgot, and I think it's kind of funny. Like I was trying on I forgot what it was. Something I'm working on. I put it on, and she's like, "Who would like wear that?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this is for like my WrestleMania cosplay." She's like, "No, no,
Yeah,
no, but you bought that from somewhere. Like people like wear this." And
that's
I was like, "Yes." And
a
she's
good
like,
point.
"Ooh, like strippers?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "No."
That's a good point, actually.
I will say though, I am very grateful and very appreciative of the support I get from my wife because
Yeah,
like the stuff I wear in public is not
that's
like
it. Yeah,
you know,
that's true. I didn't even
it,
think
it,
of that.
and it's so funny because again like people know that I like wrestling, but like
Yeah,
if I'm just gonna meet you, it's like I talk about my family, I talk about work or like
yeah,
what my kids are doing, like regular stuff. If you ask about, I mean, nobody ever asked me about wrestling, but unless like we know each other in that way, but like it never comes up in conversation. So if you just like see me like all of a sudden like dressed like this one day, and then
yeah,
the next day you see me like shirtless, like with baby oil all over me, like
yeah.
what happened there?
That's funny.
And actually, last year I remember we have a friend in town. She owns a restaurant, like a small restaurant, and it's takeout only, so there's like no dine-in customers, but there are people like waiting for their orders. So I just got back from New York Comic Con, and that day I was dressed as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and my wife is at the restaurant because we're close with the owner, and
Yeah.
sometimes my wife, even if she's ordering food or not, sometimes she'll just go to hang out with her girlfriends. And she's like, "Oh, I'm at the restaurant. Why don't you stop by?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go home." She's like, "No, come as you are." I'm like,
Oh man.
so I got the feather boas, I got the bandana, the mustache, the beard, the belts. I got it all. Like I walk in, and like she's cracking up. The customers like, "What is going on? Like, is it like, is it like some like theme night or like what's going on?"
Oh my god.
But yeah, like going back to my wife, like she's definitely like a team player. Like she's not somebody who's like gonna like initiate any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And she knows like how seriously I take it. It's almost like to a fault where like I gotta do this right. I need this. And she's like, nobody's gonna know if you have the right pants or not. I was like, no, I will know. I'm like, I need to. So like, but like, you know, you brought up our Judgment Day cosplay, you know, from a while back. Like she was just like, all right, just tell me what I'm gonna wear, and I was like, I'll try to keep it as like tame as possible, so that you know you don't have to like be like let me be like the over the top, and you can be like a casual, and it'll you know, so, like, but again, she is very supportive because I mean she maybe not initially, but the fact that she lets me do it and like have fun, I can't thank her enough for that.
Yeah, she went with the Finn, right? She was Finn Balor.
No, she was Dirty Dom.
She was Dirty. Oh yeah, she had the bandana.
Yeah, so she was. So originally, my plan was to have her be Rhea, and then my daughter would be Dom, and my son would be Finn. Again, they would be like the casual versions of them, and I would be like the ring version of Priest. It just made sense. But then like my daughter, like all of a sudden, she's like a casual wrestling fan, but she's like, no, I want to be mommy. I'm like, okay, let's if you want to do it, let's do it. And so it's so funny because normally she's like one of two extremes. She's like Tom. She's not like a tomboy, but like if it's up to her, she just wants to wear like sweats and like a hoodie.
Yeah.
Like all the time. And then like when she dresses up, she's like so beautiful and like so precious. And like, you know, she's we went on a Disney cruise one year and she did like the Bippity Boppity Boutique. So she's like Jasmine. So she's like so like, you know, like so glamorous or like very like comfortable. So those are the two sides I'm used to seeing. And like when she like put on like the whole Rhea Ripley, like with the black lipstick and like the dark makeup, I'm like, oh my God. Like I remember Rhea Ripley used to call the Nightmare. And I'm like, this is like a nightmare, like for me, like it was so funny to see, but she was like really into it, and like it was fun.
Yeah, no, you could definitely tell, like, you know, it was like that picture is awesome. It's you could definitely tell she like. So I was like, oh, how come his wife wasn't Rhea Ripley? And I was like, maybe she didn't want to like go the whole Rhea Ripley route with the, you know, how Rhea Ripley dresses and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think it worked out.
She's like, you can walk out in public like that. I'm not I'm not doing that. Sorry. But no, it's like I said, I thought that was no, that's awesome, especially when they can like, you know, you get your family involved with what you do.
Yeah.
And I did see the other picture I want to ask you about was the Sasha Banks one that you had when you actually got to do the Shawn Michaels. You do the Shawn Michaels pose, and she's doing like the Triple H pose.
Yeah, that was unreal. They were like very strict. I think with like certain, if you're like a legend or like an indie wrestler, they're like very lenient about like what you can do and like how much time you have with them. But like Sasha Banks, like or Mercedes, she's like very high profile, right? So like there's like I think she had like an autograph line, but I always prefer like pictures over like signings. So she had like a professional photo op. So she's got a backdrop. And it's like really quick in and out. And they had like very specific rules. Like they said, like you can't touch her, you can't pose, you can't do like this. I was like, oh my God, I'm like so nervous. Like, what am I gonna do? And like, I go in and automatically like she was super sweet, and she's like, oh my God, Shawn Michaels, you're doing your Heartbreak Kid pose, right? I was like, do you mind? Like, can I do it? She's like, yeah, of course. So I do it. I have no idea what she's doing behind me. And then
that's awesome.
So, like people can like say what they want about her, but I've met her multiple times, and she's been extremely nice, like all three of those times. So that's like my takeaway from like her as a character. I know people will, you know, they'll say like she has a bad attitude, or I've never experienced that, so I'll never say anything bad about her.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Even if you see the picture, she's like, yo, she's into it.
Yeah, right. So like I go like, so after you take the photo, you line up, and then they've got like all the photos like on like a table, and I didn't even see it. My friend saw it, and he's like, hey, your picture's awesome. I was like, oh yeah, and I see her like going like this with like the, like you said. I was like, oh man, I'm like yeah, she was such a good sport about it. And again, like my takeaway is she's extremely nice, and I can't go against that.
Yeah, no, I get obviously you hear like the you know, the stories from people and stuff like that and all that stuff. But yeah, you can only speak to your experiences. You can't speak to anybody else's experiences.
Absolutely.
And like I said, from judging from that picture, I mean, she was into it. She's doing like they said that she's making the face, she's doing the pose and all that stuff. And Yeah, man. What was it? There was something else I was going to ask you about that, but I totally forgot about it. But oh, have you ever thought of doing um not what do you call it? Santos Escobar.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have. And so not to bring up the Judgment Day cosplay again, but it was between the Judgment Day and the LWO before they broke up.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be really funny if I was Santos Escobar and then like my son was like Rey Mysterio because of like the height difference.
Oh, that'd be sick, dude. That actually, that's a good idea.
So I wanted to do that, and then like my daughter would have been Zelina, but then I was like, who's my wife gonna be? Like, so I thought if she just wore like like an LWO like tank top or t-shirt and had like
Yeah.
like the top hat. I think is it Joaquin Wild that does that? I think.
Oh, Joaquin, yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Joaquin
right.
Wild.
I think So I was like, okay, I guess if she's like, as long as she's got like an LWO shirt, that could kind of work. And
Yeah.
but I just felt that like the Judgment Day was like so popular. And funny story, like both my kids love the Judgment Day. Like I'm like, you don't want to cheer for like the good guys or like, but I mean, I love the Judgment Day too. But we're adults, so it's expected. But they love them. They love Dom. They love my son is a huge Damian Priest fan. They love Rhea, so I think that one worked out better. But yes, it was between the two. But I hopefully I can go do a Santos one day. I think he's got a great look.
All right, before I go, I got to ask you because I asked in Macho Verse brought this up.
Okay.
Subway Mania.
Yeah.
He told me his experience with Subway Mania. He said he loved it.
Yeah.
Said it was a great time. I mean, he's done other other like house show type of things.
Yeah.
So actually I'll ask you this before we get to Subway Mania stuff. Have you been like, has anyone asked you to get into any like, any indie shows or anything like that, or take part in any, matches or segments or anything like that?
So not in the traditional sense.
Okay.
But I guess on the topic of Subway Mania, there was a convention I went to where I was dressed as Jeff Hardy. My buddy was my friend John was Matt Hardy.
Yep.
And we went to go meet the Dudley Boys. And the two guys that portray the Dudleys from Subway Mania were there as well. We became good friends over time. So we were going to take our picture with the Dudleys, and the Dudleys were going to take the picture with the Dudleys.
Yeah.
So we got our shot, and then we were about to get out of line, and Bubba goes, "Hey, like, hold on, stay right here, don't move." I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" So he pulls the Dudleys, and he's like, you guys got dressed up for a reason. Let's take this picture together. So we get a shot of the guys playing the Dudleys.
Oh, that's awesome.
My friend and I and them. And it was such a cool moment. And the guy who Tim, like he's the mastermind behind I'm sure you're familiar with his work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, behind Subway Mania. So he did like a quick like video of us as the Hardys facing off with the Dudley cosplayers. And so many people were like, "Oh, we got to see this like Subway Mania match." So it's been talked about that we might see a Hardys versus Dudleys in the Subway, but we've planned it out, but we haven't done it. So that it's a possibility. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm saying it anyway. But yes. So to answer your question, like that's the only like offer, like official offer I get. But no indie work for me now.
Oh man, would you ever do it? Because I know Hale Liz. If you follow her, she's been involved with that. She's been announcing. She's in she's been like a manager and all that stuff. She's hit someone over the head with a light tube before. If you watch her videos, so like,
I have seen that one,
yeah. Would you ever get involved with like if they ask you? Would you do something like that if they're just like, hey, we're thinking of like having you do this, hit someone with a chair? Would you oblige? Would you just go in and be like, yeah, I'll do it?
I mean, if you're asking me, if whoever's gonna approach me and ask me, I'm gonna say yes, heartbeat. I'm not even gonna think about it, but I'm gonna have to like talk about it with my wife. Like I have to tell her I'm not gonna get hurt or make sure nothing happens.
Yeah,
because she's very concerned for like my safety, and she should be. But I mean, if you're gonna ask me, 100%, I would do whatever is asked of me.
Oh man, yeah, because
I'll do like a table spot. I'll jump off a ladder.
So I remember when I think Macho Verse, he said I'm not sure if it was the Subway Mania or something else. I think it was another thing that he did. He ended up getting like hurt and he had to go to the hospital like You get like,
Oh man, yeah, that was a. I know exactly.
yeah. And he
I
told
was
the whole
there.
story on the thing, and I'm like, and he's still like obviously in full gimmick, like dressed up as Macho Man and everything like
Yeah,
that.
so he went to the ER. All right,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mention real names because I think the story is funnier that way. So the Macho Man got hurt and goes to the ER with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
I'm not, I shouldn't be laughing at him getting hurt, but that's what
no, but
happened.
it's almost like it sounds like the beginning of a joke. Roman Reigns and Macho Man walk into an ER, and
Yeah.
that's what. But yeah, no. That's actually a plug. Go listen to the Macho versus
Yeah.
interview on my show. He actually tells the whole story of what happened.
It's
He
a great
tells
story.
his
That's worth checking out. I mean,
yeah.
it
He
was a
talks.
hard night. Yeah.
It's hilarious, man. That's a funny dude. So like, I did notice that you guys all get together and stuff like that. Is that something that you guys are planning to do around WrestleMania weekend? Because he did mention that he's gonna make it to WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania 40 that's coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming everyone's gonna get together and it's gonna be a grand old time down there.
We're hoping so, but like, there's so much going on that like.
It looks crazy this year.
Yeah, like I've never done like a Mania week like this before. Like
Yeah.
normally I'll just go. I mean I haven't been to Mania since it's been 2 nights either. So
Yeah.
normally I'll just go to the show and maybe I'll do like access or something else. But
Yep.
there's we were talking about the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. They've got a live show. There's
Yeah.
WrestleCon going on. I'm going to like a House of Glory show. And then there's like SmackDown and Raw and like NXT and WrestleMania, of course, like and like a tailgate party. There's like a pop-up shop. There's another live podcast. So it's hard to get everyone together, but hopefully at some. I think like so I'm going with a childhood friend.
Yeah.
He's been my best friend my whole life, so we're going together. But I think like Machoverse is going with like other cosplayers. So at some point we'll have our little groups here and there, but hopefully at some point we'll all get together and have some fun.
We'll definitely see the videos because I know
for sure. Yeah.
Stuff will pop up. But last question is, as far as second to last question. What's your like plans? Do you have like for this for this thing that you're doing with cosplay? Is there any? Are you looking to do like start like licensing yourself out? Are you starting looking to looking into like do indie shows or try to like maybe do like host your own or be like an event like a person at a thing where you're doing signings and stuff like that? Like what's your future plans for this that you get going?
I mean, that's a great question. Sky's the limit. I started doing this as something that I enjoyed and something that was fun for me. It's a creative outlet. Yep. It's a challenge, and it's also very rewarding. And I love all the people I've met, whether it's somebody at a convention or somebody that I'm still friends with now.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, the ultimate goal would be to get into like some type of like indie wrestling, but I think that ship has sailed for me. It's just like the stage of life I'm in with like children, family, house, and like all this stuff. And it's not something I aspire to do like now anyway.
Yeah.
But I think what you're alluding to would be like a fantastic like goal to have, just to be some sort of like personality where like I can meet people. I love interacting with pretty much like anybody and everybody, especially if you're like a fellow wrestling fan. And I know like Machoverse is like always in character. There's like no off switch.
Yeah. If you listen to that interview, I don't know who I'm not sure if I'm talking to him or if I'm talking to Macho or it goes in and out.
I think like when they say like Batman is like the true identity and Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Yep.
I think that's like the case for him, so but for me, I mean, I'm not judging him. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he does a great job with that and he enjoys it. So more power to him for that. But for me, like when I meet somebody, I always thank them for like coming up to me, and I always show my appreciation and I always talk to them like as myself, and I always introduce myself. I'm not here to like plug my socials or anything, but I tell them like, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to stop to talk to me. It's been great, and like if we get to exchange information at that point and like build a friendship, even better. So I love that type of interaction. So if I'm in a position to They always have like these like featured cosplayers at like random events.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that I think would be a lot of fun. But like looking like I guess long term and like again, if this ever happens, it'd be amazing. But just throwing it out there, if I can have like some sort of affiliation with like WWE, or even if it's like just like WWE shop or like something like that,
yeah,
I think I don't know what that would be, but just like any type of it doesn't even have to be like an extended um I don't know, like employment or like partnership, but even if it's like
yeah,
a one-off, I think that would just be like an incredible experience just to have some sort of um like professional relationship like with anybody there. But yeah, like small goals again, just being like somebody that can interact with people. Maybe if I mean, I don't consider myself like a professional by any means. I am
yeah,
good at certain things and I'm not good at certain things. So if I can have some sort of platform to kind of like share my experiences, if this is something you'd want to do, I'd like to be like that type of personality as well. So I'm not sure if I answered your question or I just started rambling, but you know.
yeah. You know, I was gonna ask you, like, as far as like, what about like any like modeling? Do you do modeling, or would you ever pursue going into that? Because that could be something that could be done with like WWE, or even like a chalk line or something like that.
Yeah,
Like even
yeah, yeah,
like
definitely.
doing stuff like that. Like with the because they do, like, obviously they sell on WWE shop, they sell like a lot of that they sell a lot of the gear and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um so maybe you can model like the gear. Maybe if they sell like that's what I'm saying. Like there are other, it doesn't have to be like cosplay, but
Yeah,
like because you
that's
have
what I
the
was. Mhm.
yeah, because you have the fashion page there too as well. So like I was thinking maybe like, is that something that you like would ever consider doing, is like going into some type of like modeling, not like full, yeah, your full career, like going full blown into it, but like just like modeling jobs and stuff like that. Is that something that you would consider if the like the cosplay thing or the feature cosplayer thing didn't like if that wasn't like your avenue?
Yeah, 100%. So I again going back to I believe like 2015 was like when I started taking modeling seriously. So
Yeah.
I started getting like professional photos taken. I had like I started building a portfolio. That's when I like launched my Instagram. Try to like make connections. I would go to like shows and
Yeah.
make connections, things like that. 2015 is also the year my son was born, so that
Yeah.
complicated things. So I had to kind of like take a step back and like you know the drill, like being a first
Yeah.
time father, like
Yep.
what you eat is not a priority. Like you just want when you sleep is kind of like non-existent. So it's very hard to like
Nope.
like have some sort of like public like
Yeah.
experience. And I'm not blaming my son like whatsoever. That's not what I'm trying to say. It just became very hard to like juggle like fatherhood with
Oh
like
yeah. Yep.
with my job and to pursue like modeling. So I have been fortunate enough to do like some modeling work,
Yeah.
and again like that was my end goal, to kind of do that on the side until eventually it became more of like a full-time thing.
Yeah.
Um, but like it's extreme. It's so hard to like get into that, and especially like with the environment and the industry being like so cutthroat, um
Yeah.
it and like very like competitive. Again, like that's something I have like never stopped pursuing, but it's just been taking like a backseat right now, just because
Yeah.
I'm focusing again on my family, like first and foremost. But again, like my actual job that I do from like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And like cosplaying has just like kind of like taken off for me. It's become so like involved and engaging, but like it's also
Yeah.
like very fun and like very enjoyable for me. So it's not like, even though I'm like if you want to say like working hard on it, like I'm
Yeah.
having fun with it. So it's been challenging to bring like the fashion aspect back into it. But like you were saying with like Chalkline, or like that's why I mentioned like WWE shop, like
Yep.
if there's some sort of like avenue that I can kind of like go in that way, it's blending all of my passions together, and that would
Yeah.
definitely be something I would be interested in.
That's awesome. Last question. I always ask this question at the end of every show. So I would bring up a scenario where, you have a long time, you're a long time wrestling fan.
Mhm.
And maybe you have a friend that's, kind of like on the outs. They're like, why do you watch us still? I don't get it. Why do you find this exciting? That type of person. What match would you show that person
Mm,
to get them involved in wrestling? Like I said, they're on the outside. Like, man, I get it. They're athletes, but it's the F word. It's fake. That type of thing. Yeah, I don't get why you watch it. But so, what match would you be like? All right, you're gonna sit them down. They're gonna watch this match, and literally after this, they're gonna, or it could be a segment. I shouldn't pigeonhole it to a match. It could be like
yeah.
a moment too as well, or a promo, something that you would show them that they'd be like, oh my god, I'm hooked. Now I gotta watch. Now I'm in. I gotta watch wrestling. What would that be? What would you show that person?
Man, that's a loaded question. It's a fantastic question. But before I answer though, I feel like I go on all these tangents, but the press conference, the WrestleMania press conference, when you
Yes.
the segment, I put it on, and we don't allow the kids to have like screen time during dinner or like after or like we can't try to limit their screen time during the week.
Yep.
But I had to watch it, and like
Yeah.
everybody's invested. Like both my kids, even my wife
Yep.
is like, "Oh my god, like what's happening? Like, are they gonna? Is this gonna be the match or something?" The quick answer, I think that's like a very compelling segment. But if you're gonna talk about match, one that kind of like sticks out to me is Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura from NXT Takeover. I want to say Dallas.
Ooh.
That one, like
Wow.
I do enjoy New Japan, but like it's hard for me to like watch it, right? So like I knew of
Yeah.
Nakamura, but I wasn't like I've seen like his elaborate entrances, and of course I saw that classic he had with like AJ Styles. That's
Yep.
probably another one I would show them.
Yep.
Um, but this is my first time actually like seeing him perform live,
Yep.
like in the US, and like I was hooked. Like I became an instant fan. Like I wish I could be one of those fans, like, oh, I followed his stuff in like Japan and like I knew him
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
before. I didn't. But when I saw that match, I was invested in. I've always liked Sammy, but like my God, that match, like it's still one of my favorite matches to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that would probably be the one. Like I think about this question like every now and then, and I always go back to that. I know there's like a huge list that I would show, but yeah, I think that match just has it all.
Man, that you're the first person that actually brought that up. Actually, an NXT match. A lot of people, bring up like, Hogan Rock,
Yeah,
WrestleMania. Brett, obviously like Bret Hart and like Austin or stuff like that. Like,
that's
like
definitely going to be yeah,
I don't want to say like generic ones, but like those are like the go-to ones. But
yeah,
that one right there, like Shinsuke was like the way like like even he still moves the same way, but like just his entrance was like different too. Like you never
yeah,
seen like someone like walk down to the ring, kind of like
yeah,
and then like as you like learn about him more and like where he gets his inspiration from, which
yeah,
is pretty much like Michael Jackson. If
yeah,
you
yeah,
if you watch
exactly.
this thing, like and you see him like move and how he moves his head and like the way he moves towards the ring, like you get it. And then like I was hooked on Shinsuke as well when he first came into NXT. It
Yeah,
was kind of like a breath of fresh air when he showed up because it was like you see New Japan guys come over, like you see like Finn Balor came over,
yeah, yeah.
AJ Styles, but like when he came over and Asuka, I'm gonna give Asuka credit as
Oscar
well.
for
Like
sure. Yeah,
their style of wrestling was like not known to like WWE. I shouldn't say people in the US, but I should say like WWE
yeah,
people
yeah,
did
definitely.
not know about like Japanese strong style
Yeah,
or any of that stuff, or maybe even New Japan people didn't even know about. But
yeah,
him showing up and his hard hitting style, like yeah, this is unmistakable. Yeah, no, that's a perfect match to show somebody. Definitely,
I
I
think
think.
like I've watched wrestling with like non-wrestling fans, and oh, it's so frustrating. They're like commenting on like oh, he didn't really punch him. Like oh, this just like if you're not gonna enjoy it and appreciate it, like I get it. I'm not gonna hold that
Yeah.
against you. Just let me watch it. Or like they'll go for like a splash and like oh, he didn't even hit him. I was like like and or like the chairs are fake. I'm like oh my god. But I feel like with that match, like you don't have like that persona of like an Andre. You just have like incredible wrestling and you have
Yes.
physicality. And I think that gets lost on a lot of people. Like
Mm,
I think when most people would think about wrestling, they're thinking of like fake stuff and like over the top drama and like
yeah.
exaggerated movements and like, oh, like why is this guy acting like this? Like you don't have any of that. You just have two guys like just doing what they do best in between the ropes, and like they deliver. And I think like you can get sucked into that. Like anybody can get sucked into that match.
Oh yeah, definitely. If someone like ever like does that, I'm showing them like a Okada, like Kenny Omega match, or even recently Okada, sorry, Osprey and Omega.
Yeah. I love Osprey. My God, yeah.
They like he I mean he's knocked a few people out with his hidden blade move. So yeah, there's a couple of videos out
lethal, man.
he's I think there was a video of him knocking someone out before with that hidden blade. They're just like you, they go step arm pretty much.
Yeah.
But man, no, this is awesome, man. This is
I had a lot of fun, man.
This is a great interview. You know, like I said, the reason why you're pretty much like one of the reasons why, not you specifically, but what you do is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a show like this was to, you know, I follow so many different, you know, accounts as far as like, you know, wrestling accounts, you know,
sure.
Like I said, nerd culture, if you want to say like collectors, it could be comic book, it could be sci-fi, it could be literally anything. And I always get a horror too, as well. I've interviewed people in the horror field and stuff like that. But like, it's one of those things where like I said, you're one of those people that like, I see you over the moonsault, Macho Verse, like heel Liz, like the effort that gets put into what you guys do. It always fascinates me. And I always want to like find out how you do it, like how you like how you balance it, like and how it's done. And like I said, you're pretty much like a perfect example of like what I look for and what everyone looks for when they're looking for like shows like this and they want to find the inside, you know, like they say, go into the weeds. Stuff like that. So
thank you so much for that. That really means a lot. And I've had a lot of fun. This is I haven't done a lot of interviews, but I've done several. This might have been the most fun I've had.
Oh, thank you. That's I can add that to Machoverse, because he's like, oh man, this is the funnest interview ever. Like he's messaging me and stuff afterwards. He's like, actually listen back, man, this is great.
I know we're recording. I feel like if we weren't recording, we could just keep going for hours.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I had to like I have to stop myself because I'll keep on. I'll keep going. I think the longest episode I did was with the Wrestling Classic. Justin, if you follow him.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like, I think it was 2 hours and 20 minutes was
wow.
the run time, because he was like he actually kind of warned me. He's like, yeah, I could keep on going, and like a majority of it he's going and going. It was like, and then we talked like another 30 minutes after we stopped the show, like we started talking about stuff, and and I was like, oh man, it could have been like a 3-hour show if we kept on going. But
you got to divide that.
I don't think people want to listen to that.
Part 1, part 2, you know.
Yeah, I'm not like a Joe Rogan type where you can like sit there for like 3 hours and be that entertaining. I try my best. But anyway, where can everyone find you?
Let's go for it. So if you want to follow my fashion, I am Chris Wain. Wain is Wain. Everybody thinks it's like Batman, like Wain. My wrestling is, again, my name. It's Chris Wain, WWE. Those are both on Instagram, and I do have fun on X. That sounded really dirty when it came out. On Twitter, I'm gonna keep going with Twitter. I was like, that didn't sound right. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's master_Wain. Again, Wain.
That's funny. It gets tricky when you talk about X, and it's like, because X is still, or Twitter is still like kind of like an outlaw lane where anything goes pretty much. It's not really sanctioned like Instagram and Facebook is nowadays. So you gotta watch what you say when you say, I have fun on X. Come join me on X. Well, tons of fun together. But no,
as soon as those words left my mouth, like that did not sound
but other than that, well, thank you again for joining. It was a pleasure having
thank
you on.
This is a pleasure.
And we'll talk to everybody soon. See you later.
Sounds good.
Peace.